We are now inside Mr. Muhammad's home. We want to thank him for being so gracious in extending this opportunity for us to explore with him the full meaning of the black Muslims. He has written a book called The Message to the Black Man in America, which will soon be published. And we have used this book to base a number of our questions to Mr. Muhammad. Mr. Muhammad, in this book you make a number of stipulations of which we would like to press you on in the course of this session today. One, you call for the separation of the Negro into a separate state, either in the United States or made possible by the United States. Two, you say that war between the whites and the blacks is inevitable.
Yes. I'm very glad to answer these questions, Mr. Kup, to you and to the world. They are most essential that we should give the world the answer to such questions. I have been preaching and teaching the answers to these questions for many years. I give thanks first, Mr. Kup, to God, who came in the person of Master Farad Muhammad around 34 years ago now to me. And all that I have and been teaching, it is from him. And it is very easy for us to recognize the visit of this mighty one according to the time. If we have the knowledge of the time that we are living in, we can accept and respect this mighty visitor in this part of the world to fulfill that which was written of him, that he will come. And now he has come, and he has given out his purpose and his aims, as it also is written in the Bible in Quran. And therefore, I have nothing of myself in this answer. It is all from him.
From him, you mean the messenger of Allah?
No, not the messenger of Allah. I'm the messenger of Allah. I mean from Allah himself, who came in the person of Master Farad Muhammad.
Who preceded you as the head of the Muslims?
Well, he was actually the beginner. Yes, sir. And I'm taught by him. This separation we begin with, it is absolutely necessary. We have lived here in America for the last 400 years and have served our slave masters well before these past 100 years. And now the time has arrived that we want something for ourselves. The natural spirit of God is moving in us and making us to think in such terms towards self. And the doing for self is now getting into the very life of the black man in America. We want to go for self. We want to be ourselves. This is aroused in us by God himself. And to oppose it means nothing but death to either side. If we oppose it, it's death for us. If others oppose it, it's death to them.
But even your own people oppose it, Mr. Muhammad, if I may interject a thought here. Most of the civil rights leaders with whom I know you disagree, Dr. Martin Luther King, and Whitney Young, and Roy Wilkins, and James Foreman, and James Farmer, and any number of others, all believe in integration, getting along with the whites and moving into the same society.
This is all due to their lack of knowledge of the time and what should be done in such time. They don't know that this is their time, that they should be separated or they should go for themselves. This is what I'm trying to teach them. Teach them that this is the time that they should go for themselves.
But is it not, would you disagree that it is the ambition and the goal of most Negroes in this country to become Americans in every meaning of that word, to participate in our
No.
society, to be responsible, legitimate, honest citizens? Is that the goal of the overwhelming number of Negroes in this country?
It may be their goal, Mr. Cup, because that they don't even know, as I just said, that this is the time that they should be going for self. And lack of knowledge of the time, the lack of knowledge of self. The American so-called Negro, especially the leading class, do not actually know themselves. Excuse my voice as I'm a little look like trying to be a little hoarse this morning. But however, I may clear it up later. America's so-called Negro, as you know, have been kept in the dark of the truth of self and kind for now 400 years. And the only one to break forth this truth, it is God himself, as it is written. And the Bible, Ezekiel, and prophesied by Jesus, that the dead must rise, mentally dead. So our so-called leadership is as dumb as those they are leading to this knowledge. Therefore, they hope that they could have a place somewhere in the life of the white man of America and in his country and government. They seek that place. Not that they seek some portion of the country place here. They seek only recognition of the white man as being a citizen of America and being his equal. And this is the wrong thing to be seeking, since we now have served our prophetic term of slavery here in America, and now we have a taste of education of our slave masters and their children. We don't go now to the colleges and universities of the white man looking for degrees to go back to him then for a job, to work, live with him, or some bread in the bread line.
Well, what is wrong with that ambition, Mr. Muhammad? It seems to be working out in growing numbers.
A subject, a servant all the time. He's not getting an equal place with his master by seeking a job. The only thing that he should seek now, since he admits that he's free, and he is free, he's not no more a servitor slave.
But
he is free.
The growing number of Negroes who have achieved prominence in all the fields of this country, economic, the social life, the arts, indicates that there is tremendous progress being made, and the growing middle class of the Negro is tremendous today, with a tremendous purchasing power.
Mr. Cup, but the progress is only being made to the position or status of a more prominent servant, and not a servant that is equal with his master and owning such thing is placed on this earth that he can call his own like his master.
Then you say that people like the Dr. Ralph Bunches and any number of other Negroes who have achieved fame and fortune are still servants in this community?
His fame and fortune is not his. That's the white man. He have achieved fame and fortune for the white man, not for his black man. All that the prominent, I would say, politicians, teachers, and clergy, all has worked forward to the help of the white man to achieve fame for him and his race, but not for themselves and their race.
Let me take you to another area, Mr. Muhammad. Our government is spending millions of dollars in various programs mostly aimed at uplifting the Negro for better education, better job opportunity, a better share of this society. Now, isn't that a worthy commentary on the white man's role?
If the slave master gets rich and richer, he can do better by his servant, his slave. But the slave is now, as I say, stands at the crossroads. He can go for himself. And why not the master teach him how to go for himself and provide him with the necessary means to go for himself, and not say, keep petting him around his door
Let's assume,
with a better suit of clothes.
let's assume, Mr. Muhammad, that your separation policy comes into effect. You will ask the United States to give you a state large enough to take care of all the Negroes in this land. That would be about 1/5 of the territory.
Well, it's about 22 or more million.
Yes. And then you would ask the United States for 25 or 30 years, according to your book, The Message to the Black Man,
No.
to help operate this for 25 or 30 years.
Not 30.
25.
20 or 25.
And also to give you a land that's fertile and rich in minerals so that the Negro can
Make a
thrive
living.
from the earth
Yes, sir.
a justifiable living.
Yes, sir.
How would you bring an economic system? How would you get people to start a new state?
How would we get them to start? I'm asking you to put a start.
You want the government to start the state for you, to build all the buildings and give you the educational system, and give you the businesses.
We believe that you are obligated to start us off in such state according to your own civilization, or set up for your own civilization. The means that you have to set your own race up as an independent race here today, not what you had 400 or 500 years ago, but what you have today.
Let me pause for just a moment,
Yes,
Mr.
sir.
Muhammad. We still have to interrupt for commercials on this
Thank you.
program. We'll pause for a moment and be right back with the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. Mr. Muhammad, while we're talking about this very unique proposition of yours as expressed in the Message to the Black Man and, of course, in all your philosophy, it's interesting to note that Abraham Lincoln once proposed or thought that all Negroes, perhaps for their own best interest, should be moved to a separate state. And Garvey, a great leader of the Negroes many, many years ago, proposed that the Negroes have their own state. He was never too successful. And if I remember correctly, the communists in the early 30s, at the height of the Depression, urged that the Negroes be given their own state in an effort to capitalize on their following, I presume. None of these ever came to fruition or were ever successful or ever interested too many Negroes. How do you figure that you today can get Negroes to leave this country of theirs and go elsewhere?
Well, I will not have any power to do, don't have any power to do any more than those teachers that preceded me on the same subject. I myself don't have any power of myself to bring about such change. But God is with me to bring it about. And the time is with me.
How has your God, Allah, manifested himself in this presentation?
He have manifested himself in the person of a man, and with the knowledge of the end of the history that we have been in service to white people, and the time that we should be separated from them. This knowledge was given by him. And he is the one that is backing it up. It is not me. I don't want you to look at me as nothing but a messenger. That's all I am, just a messenger to tell you what someone said to me. This now that I have said to you concerning the separation, it is not, say, contrary to prophecy, the sayings of the prophets concerning a separation of the slave and his master. It is not contrary. But where I comes in at there of asking you if you would like to do something for yourself and admitting this justice from yourself, as this is nothing but justice, to give the slave something to go with if you have freedom. That America has never done for us. Our parents was never given anything to prove for self. Now, the time have come that God himself will intervene to separate the so-called Negro or the lost members of their people, the black nation of the earth, from their once slave masters. This is the time, according to the prophetic sayings and writings of prophets, that we must be separated.
I just want to ask you one question along the separation theory before we move on. There are approximately 22 million Negroes in the United States. There's an estimated 100,000 members of these who belong to your sect. Now, how can you expect 100,000 to dominate 22 million who don't feel the same way that you do?
Oh, Mr. Kup, the number doesn't mean anything. We have history dating back that just less people than that. Even the people that dominated in the world today, your own race, they was not started with even 100,000. Only 59,000 was used to make your own world. It don't make any difference about the number. It's only the one that believing in honest about accomplishing the aim and the purpose.
If you had your choice of territory in this country, where would you select?
Well, I'm not saying, as I have said time and again, I will not say where I would like to have a room in your house before ever you are willing to give me a room there.
Mr. Muhammad, in your book, you also say that war between the non-whites and the whites is inevitable.
If you will permit me, Mr. Kup, I would like to go back here to this separation again.
All right.
We often has been misunderstood on this. We know that the prophesied says that we should be returned or will be returned to our own. But I have said here in this book, and almost weekly I'm saying something about it, that if America wants to ease their troubles, as this is the trouble that she is confronted with, it is her slave. I don't care what someone might say or may say about the problem, but the problem of America, it is her slave. And the solution has been given. And this is just only a little twist of the solution that I am presenting to America today. That instead of all of this, I would say, mistreating the poor man, crying out today for more justice and better justice, better recognition, put him over here in some place. You have a house big enough to do so. Put him over here someplace to himself, regardless to what he says. You know the truth. You know that he should be somewhere to himself, because you will never agree to all that he demands you of. You cannot do so unless you want to become a subject slave yourself, or that you want to get in the same status that your slave is in, to yield to all of his demands. That is trying to respect a once slave as your equal. You can't do that and keep your respect in the world of civilized nation. But you can, I should say, stop trying to force the ideal in the slave that he is as good, he is as honored, he is as much as the master. This cannot be accepted as true, even from the master.
Would you
by
deny?
just giving, if you will just permit me, I will give you a chance then. By giving him a chance to sit in the house with you and talk with you and your family, or even marry your sons and daughters, that's not yet making him your equal. Or to prepare in your laboratories jobs for him, factories, build factories to give him a job. keep him at work. That is not making him your equal yet. He's still unequal. And it's a real ignorant thing to say he's my equal because I give him social status with me. This is bad on the white man's part, even to offer his slave integration in marriage, intermarriage. It only makes him worse in the eyes of the world, and his intelligence is now has been, I would say, lost, and his decency of his society is lost, even by just offering the slave such opportunity. But if he would go and offer his slave a place over here to himself, say, boy, you have allowed me to use this slave. Boy, you have been a good old plowboy for me. Now I'm going to let you plow for yourself. Here's a mule. Here's a plow. I will furnish you plow tools until that you are able to pay for them or make them yourself.
You don't think that the white man really thinks of the Negro as boy anymore, that this era has
allowed me
so
to
many
use
years
the word,
ago?
but he still calls them boys in many parts of the country.
You still refuse to acknowledge, though, that the tremendous progress of any number of Negroes in all the arts, in all the political world, in all the sports world, in the entertainment world, in education, these people are not the equal of the whites with their tremendous success?
Well, if he has made progress in the way of civilization for the white man or in the civilization of the white man, well, why object then to him going doing this for himself? Let him make a way now for himself.
But don't you feel, Mr. Muhammad, that this success is generated among the Negro youth who look up to these people as idols, and they themselves take their place in the society as successful people, inspired by their own people who have made successes?
Until he learned the truth. When he learned the truth of himself and of those who that he is worshiping, then he will go for himself, as I have the spirit to go for myself. I don't want to be a slave for you. I don't want you to use me as a servant. I want to be my independent self. I want some of this earth for my people like you. You came here and taken it by the knowledge and power of your own fathers from the Indian, and you made a great country out of it. Then you goes back to my country and brings us here to serve you as slave, free labor. For 300 years we have did that for you, willingly or unwillingly. We did so, and our fathers. Now for 100 years, you say we are free. And 100 years we are not free. We are so blind, deaf, and dumb, we still look forward to you to make our clothes for us, get the cotton and the wool, go and put it through the mills and make cloth out of it for us, and we still sitting looking at you do all of this for us.
Mr. Muhammad, if you'll pardon me, I must say that your interpretation of the Negro is far different than mine. You sound more like Governor Wallace when you say the Negro is deaf, dumb, and blind. You don't want to be linked with Governor Wallace as one of the outstanding racists.
No, I say that because God himself said it. It's written in the Bible and Quran. Wallace didn't write this.
No, but he announces and enunciates the same principle that you're enunciating.
Well,
the Negro is dumb.
Well,
not
he's saying what God in the Bible says. Your Bible said that we are blind, deaf, and dumb, and even dead.
Well, many people certainly will disagree with anything that the Wallace
Well, they disagree with God and the prophets then.
Only in your Bible, not in any other Bible.
It's in your Bible.
That the Negro is dumb and blind?
I got mine from you.
We'll have to pause for a moment, Mr. Muhammad, for a message, and we'll be right back. Mr. Muhammad, I know you want to say a few more words on separation before we go into another subject.
Mr. Kup, I'm very anxious to finish what we started with on the separation. It is very nice and good for America to prepare educationally her slave that she once had in servitude. The education that we have acquired from white America, it will help us to begin for self anywhere on this earth that we may prefer to go or stay. If we are to stay here with you, we must stay in a separate part of America with you. And the education is still accepted. We need all the education. I must stop and say that we can of good education to help us to go for self. And as far as our reaction to what we have acquired in the way of education, it doesn't mean that we should now be satisfied to remain with you just because that we have now acquired more respect of self in the way of education and can do more better service for you than we have in the past. The thing of it is, since we have acquired enough to make a step out of the house of bondage where that our fathers was enslaved or put in bondage, we should now go, and you should help us to go and provide the necessary means for us to continue going in the way of self. This would also give you a great and a good name. The slave master sent his slave off with the provision to keep going for himself. We need modern tools now. We don't need to apply a mule. We need a tractor. And we need the land, certainly, that will provide a living and the necessity of life otherwise, such as buildings and other machineries. We want space that we can go into as you have went into it and pull out of her treasures the necessary means for us to build a nation for ourselves.
But is this consistent, Mr. Muhammad, with your position? You were saying about the Negro doing things for himself. Then you say the government must turn around and give him all this territory and operate it for him for 20 years.
We think the government is obligated. We have given her 400 years. And now we want to go for ourselves. How are we to get started for ourselves if the slave master is not willing to provide the means for us to go free for ourselves?
In your position on separation, did you feel that the Supreme Court made a mistake in 1954 when it ruled that segregation must end in the public school systems?
No, I don't say the government made a mistake by saying the kind of segregation that we have lived under should be terminated. I don't think she made any mistake there. But I do think the government is making a mistake now to try to hinder us from being separated, since we have already lived under segregation for the past centuries. Now we would like to be separated and live over here to ourselves, since we cannot get along with you in peace.
Let me take you into another area that we discussed at the opening of the show, Mr. Muhammad. That is your prediction in the book, The Message to the Black Man, that the whites and the non-whites inevitably must come to a war. You really feel that there must be a war between the races?
If you will not submit to the law of justice, freedom, justice, and equality, and submit to do good, certainly, this is the time that good confronts us to rule the people, and not evil. Your history teaches us that you have always warred. In Europe, there was once a 100-year war, 30-year war, and they have continued a war history of your race ever since you had civilization
But
in
it
Europe.
isn't only the white man, Mr. Muhammad. Every man, white, red, yellow, has always engaged in war just as much as the
Never
white
knew
man.
history never give us any knowledge of a war between the brown, yellow, black races before you.
Well, the Chinese and the Japanese warred for many, many centuries, and
Yeah.
certainly the blacks in Africa had their tribal wars, and the Muslims and Christianity had their religious wars.
But
I mean, war has been a part of man ever
that's
since.
been in your sphere of ruling the people since 6,000 years. You will mention what happens in the period of 6,000 years. Well, you are the boss there. You started there.
You maintain that the white man, according to this book, has been on this earth only 6,000 years,
Only
and that the
6,000.
black man was here many, many years, centuries before.
We don't have no birth rate.
But the anthropological facts may differ with you, but this is, of course, according to your religion, right?
It depends on the man who does the analyzation of this past history of our people, bones and rocks and whatnot.
Your statement of inevitable war is so reminiscent of what Red China has been saying, that the yellow race and with the colored race will fight the white race, that it's a little frightening that you would be on the same beam, the same line of reasoning with him. I want you to explain that further.
We cannot move ourselves if we are there by God himself. In the beginning, we are there, and you are there. In the very beginning, we cannot change nothing, and I'm not asking no one to accept any change that I would try and make, because I'm not trying to make one. Everything, Mr. Kup, that I said concerning the truth, whether it's war, or whether it's separation of nations, I have it from Bible, Quran, from Jesus, from all the prophets in the past, from God himself, and I'm not talking myself. I'm talking what God and his prophets say.
Of course, Mr. Muhammad, Jesus, and all the other recognized religious leaders always preached love, not hatred.
Take for an instance, Jesus, he taught love of his Father. We used the name he used there. He taught that we should love the Father. We should love the word, the teachings of God. We should love the man that loves God and loves the teachings of God. This was Moses' teaching to Israel, was to love thy God with all thy heart, soul, might, and strength. But you are not taught to love the enemies, the nations that will not love your God and will not allow you to pass through or not allow you to settle in your own land. You should destroy that nation, or God will destroy them before you. This is Moses. Then the God goes so far as to say himself that there was two brothers, that he loved one and hated the other. God is the first hater. Jesus also seconds his Father in these words, that unless you can hate your mother, brother, sister, father, pick up your cross and come follow me, you cannot be my disciple. You have to hate first there. He gives to us the old well-known teachings there in Matthew. I think it's around Matthew or in John 1. Anyway, it's there in his teaching. Here comes again some more of Jesus' teaching. He mentions this saying of the two brothers. One hated, another loved, to verify his own hatred of the evil people. He did not declare himself as being a lover of all men. He could not be the representative of God if he loved all people, because some people are evil. And a time of judging and letting out sentences to the evil and the contrary people of God is also on the page of history that these prophets put there for us to read and study. Moses did so, and now comes Jesus. He covers his spear of delivering the message to Israel, a final message, and then denounces Israel as being enemies of God, and that a day of judgment is set for your execution. All of this is given right there out of the Bible that is put in the words of Jesus. And we continue to have this, and in the beginning we have it, Moses addressed Israel, and Deuteronomy there, saying to Israel that in the very beginning, when we speak of separation, that God separated the sons of Adam. If God saw it more less than peaceful to separate these sons of Adam, brothers, these sons represent brothers. They can't live together. We separate the very sons of Adam and give them a place on the earth and set boundaries for them, that they cannot be entering in and out of the other's country without permission. Boundary means that you must have permission to come in my part of the country. And now, all of this is set forth for us in the Bible, in which the Christians say we should believe. If the Christian don't believe in his own Bible, the sayings of his own Bible, how can he preach to us to believe in it? If the Christian don't want to abide by the book that he represents is from the prophets of God and their sayings, how can then he force us to believe that which he don't believe himself?
Let's interrupt for just a moment. Very lavish and splendid home of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, the leader of the Nation of Islam, better known to most people as the Black Muslims. And Mr. Muhammad has graciously consented to sit down and chat with us for a while and to explain some of his problems and some of his philosophy of life and religion. Briefly, Mr. Muhammad, what is the purpose and the goal of the Nation of Islam, which you head, better known as the Black Muslims?
It's to reform people in America and put them to themselves in some place where that they can go for themselves, do for themselves. Well, I don't say the word that I should say. Separate them and give them a chance to do for themselves as other nations.
Is this possible in the day and age we live in, to segregate the Negro into a certain state, as you often have said, or a certain area,
well,
and expect them to live in this world?
Pardon me, sir. I don't believe in segregation, but separation. I don't say that we're trying to force that. This is just on the alternative that I have referred to a separate territory to separate us from the white people whom that we can't get along with in peace here. Being mixed with them and trying to live and demand respect and demand what they have, and this kind of thing causes trouble, and it has caused trouble for a long time with us. We are not your equal, and we demand an equality with you, and yet we have not made ourselves equal to demand equality with you. You're the honor, and you are the builders of your educational system. You are the makers of your law of the land. You are the complete boss. And a slave just cannot get up and say to his master that he's equal with his master until he has made himself equal. And this is causing and has caused lots of trouble in trying to get along with each other in peace. And this is due to also the time and the way that we have been taught. A child come up and never know anyone but that parents. He follow what the parents teach him and never will change unless someone changes him. Therefore, we have your teachings from slavery for 100 years in education of yours, and now we want what you want. Your education teaches us to do something for ourselves, and it teaches us in a way like yourself that we should be independent. Your educational systems is an independent way of life because you are an independent nation. And now today we are getting a little taste of your education, and we want what you want. Some of this earth that we can call our own and set up a government on it to our likings. And this is the reason that I teach separation, because no more can you deal with an educated slave like you did a uneducated slave. And therefore we just don't see any way out but separation, and then the time according to the prophetic sayings of prophets, teachings of prophets of old, we see these sayings coming true today.
Mr. Muhammad, let me go back a little bit, because most of us in this country feel that the educational system is for both colored, white, and anybody else who wants to go, who belong here. Do you see no progress of your fellow Negroes, or black men as you prefer to call them, in this country, where it's becoming the equal of the so-called white people?
I think we just, I don't think you so-called white people, I will not say that. You are white people. And I don't say that education have not been a great help to us. This is what I just said. We have now some of your education, and we think in the terms.
But don't you think that we are making progress on both sides of this question, so that the black and the white can live in peace and harmony?
Well, I don't see no chance of living in peace and harmony with the masters of the land, because we are never going to get no equality with the owners. And therefore, why should we object, or why should we deny ourselves of an opportunity that has been presented to us according to the history for a whole 100 years of doing something for ourselves? We were supposed to be freed 100 years ago. And why should we now talk continuous, living in the midst of our masters, and we can't hope for nothing but just a servant?
Mr. Muhammad, what do you see, or how do you judge some of your fellow leaders like Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. and Whitney Young and Roy Wilkins and others who are fighting for a different philosophy, so-called integration instead of separation?
Well, I don't give much credit to no so-called Negro lost members of their nation preaching such doctrines as integration. We can't integrate with you and keep the respect of a nation, nor could you integrate with us and keep your respect for your own nation. That's very, well, I should say, it is very plain that my people is not even educated and is qualified, has not been self-respecting for a long time. You're not going to take them in your society like they are. They have to be first trained and taught the manners and the general society's rules and everything for you to accept them just so, and might not be able to get along even at that, because we are just different people. Our very nature is different.
Well, now the anthropologists and the scientists will all disagree. He said there is no difference. There are no differences between the races. That given equal opportunity, the black man can do as well as the white man, and vice versa. They don't believe in any superiority of either race, black or white.
I didn't mention the word superiority, but Mr. Kup, I must say this, that we are different. And regardless to what the scientists are writing up on this story today, we are different people. And take for instance, your history dates back about 6,000 years ago, right? And I'm sure that the world knows that your history dates 6,000 years ago. But according to our history, we was here a long time before 6,000 years ago. And that we didn't come exactly alike. Well, I would say not exactly, but even that we just didn't come here alike. And therefore, the nature of us is different. And to force ourselves on each other, it always will cause dissatisfaction. I don't believe with the leaders of the civil rights movement trying to force themselves on the white man of America when he is showing in every way, declares 5 fingers on the hand that he don't want them.
Of course, a lot of people will differ with you on that. I think you know that, Mr. Muhammad, that the white man is trying to make an effort to give equality and help the Negro reach an equality.
Huh?
Let me interrupt here for just a moment for a message. We're back now, Mr. Muhammad. Of course, you know, Mr. Muhammad, that Marcus Garvey in the 1920s tried a Back to Africa movement which fizzled for lack of support. And if I recall, the communists in the early 30s, during the height of the Depression, offered the Negroes a 49th state in an effort to capture their vote. But none of these ever succeeded.
It's foretold by God and His prophets that separation must take place in this time. We are 400 years here in the Western Hemisphere. And the predictions of us stay here in the Western Hemisphere is only 400 years, according to the prophet. And that time now is up. And God Himself is taking a hand into it. It is not us alone. We only followers, and being guided by God Himself in this thing that we call separation. It is the desire of God to separate us.
Well, I would agree with your philosophy, your explanation. That's certainly your side. But I don't see any signs of this gaining any momentum among the black people living separately.
Well, that's good. They are acting according to the prediction. We don't expect to go around and use our mouth or trumpet to try to bring them in subjection to the will of God. It is written that they must be, they must have more than just preaching. And that comes from God after the preachings.
In the field of religion, Mr. Muhammad, is there any link between the Nation of Islam, which you head, and the Arab-oriented Muslim religion?
Yes, they are. The common Arab, the common Muslim in Asia and Africa and the islands of the Pacific, they might not say recognize us as being on, I would say, equal with them in Islam. But the scientists of Islam, they recognize us. Those who know and understand there's a little difference in the teachings here of Islam than it is among the Orthodox Muslims. The Orthodox Muslims, they are born in Islam, most of them, when it comes to Arabia, Egypt, and yes, I can't say Pakistan because Pakistan just got Islam about 1,000 years ago. But Arabia has always had it, and Egypt has always had it, in some way or another. Africa has once had it, but now she is going back to it. She was over, and as you know her history better than I do. But however, she's going back to Islam now. And we have never had Islam here in America. We was never taught Islam.
What I'm trying to determine, Mr. Muhammad, is there a relationship between the religion you preach here and the Arab-oriented Muslim religion?
Yes, sir, when it's understood.
Because they do believe in the brotherhood of man. They do not ostracize whites. In fact, they are led by a white person. And they claim that Muhammad, the prophet, was the last prophet in the world, that they would not accept another prophet, of course.
Well, as I said before, we are in a time of separation. And we are not in the same category as they are, as those Muslims over there. There has been dealing with the Western world in many ways and for a long time. And there we have a great, I should say, a little nation of Muslims in Turkey who was converted about 1,000 years ago to Islam, as you know. And we don't condemn them in their belief. They believe, we accept them as their belief. I stopped in Turkey on my way to the Middle and Far East in 1959. And I talked with them, lived there for a while in a hotel, just to observe them. And they believe, Allah accepts their belief. But what I am actually preaching that's different from them, that one is a Muslim by nature, and the other is made a Muslim.
What about this thing that comes up so often, Mr. Muhammad, whenever you are quoted, and you made a speech at the convention here, that all whites are devils, throwing a blanket over the whole white race?
Well,
we know we have our share, as everybody does, but to say all whites are devils is kind of a racial intolerance that few people would believe.
Mr. Kup, we did not have any white people on our planet before 6,000 years ago. And according to the history of the makings of the white race and its teacher, I must explain that teacher's work. He didn't go to make a race for God. He didn't make that race for God. He made that race for an adversary of God. And therefore, we cannot deny the fact that they has practiced evil ever since that they has been on the planet. And they still practice the worst of evil. And I think that's the answer to devil.
Isn't it a little unusual, though, Mr. Muhammad, if I may press you on this point a little bit, that you are a man of religion, and to castigate the whole white race as devils, doesn't that put you in an untenable position, really?
I don't think.
And does most of your criticism come from a statement like that?
I don't think so. When it's the will of God, and God wants truth manifest, and so He wants also evil manifest.
Where is the will of God expressed? In the Quran, is this that all white men are devils?
Well,
certainly not in the one they practice in the Muslims practice.
Well, Mr. Kup, let us take the birth of this nation. They were grafted from us, and not that they came about like we. We have no birth record.
You're talking about the origin of man?
The origin of man on earth.
Yes.
There's no birth record to him. You can't find the birth of him. We have always been on the earth. But you have not. As I just said, that the Father or God that grafted your race from my people, it was for the purpose of bringing about a difference in the two people. It was first discovered in the germ of the man. The real black Aboriginal person, he have a brown and black germ in him. And the discovery of that 6,600 years ago by a scientist by the name of Yakub, he taken that germ and separated it from the original and went to work to drive the germ. Well, pardon me for using the common word drive, but to separate this germ, the brown germ, from the black one, and to continue it under a law of, we say, of birth control, until that he was able to graft this brown germ into a yellow germ, and from that on into white. The last stage of it is white.
For conceding that you are correct anthropologically, there will be some argument about that, of course. Let me pause here just a moment for a message from the sponsor, and we'll be right back. Now to resume, Mr. Muhammad. Assuming, Mr. Muhammad, that you are right from an anthropological standpoint, and there, of course, will be some argument about that, why do you think the argument or the preaching should continue that all whites are devils in this day and age, instead of a religious man preaching friendship and togetherness and understanding? Let me throw that in, too.
Well, as I say, we have lived up to the time and end of the prophets and their predictions of what should take place in this day and time. And it's not left up to us to carve out the course ourselves from our own way of thinking. It is the thinkings of God. He wants to change the whole entire world, and therefore, if a man wants to change the occupants of this house to rent it to another, he wants to know how the house look inside, and he gives it an inspection. And then if it needs cleaning up or it needs repairing, he goes to work to do so. So the world that we has known, it needs either some repair or probably discontinue. We can't forever live under evil and practicing evil, causing bloodshed, killing, murdering, beating, doing every kind of outlaw, we would say, to right law. And it is time to bring about a change in this whole thing.
Mr. Muhammad, one of the things that the press has commented upon regarding your religion is the training of some of the followers in karate and judo. This seems to frighten many people. They have called your bodyguards stormtroopers, as I recall in the press.
Well, we can't...
Not that they were stormtroopers, but they appeared to be like them.
We can't stop people from calling us whatever they want.
But why is there an emphasis on training boys to use karate and judo, which are so violent in nature?
Well, I think we see it being taught and trained by you people, too. They ever train in it. I see them training, and I see their actions and everything. And why should not we train some way to try and protect our own self when that we have no arms whatsoever?
You carry no arms.
No, sir.
And you teach the boys karate and judo for self-defense? Is that the point you want to make?
Exercise, it's a kind of a thing that is good to exercise a man's body.
Do you believe in nonviolence, the nonviolence theory?
I believe in the teachings of the Holy Quran in that respect, that to never to be the aggressor.
How would your nonviolence differ or assimilate the nonviolence preached by Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.?
Well, there is much difference with us. We don't put ourselves in a position to cause violence. And the way of trying to force someone to do for us that which they don't want to do for us, and having the rights to refrain from doing such. We cannot force people to do our own biddings when the people that we're trying to force are the people that's in power. And therefore, we are much different. We want to be at peace, and we travel the path to peace. We tread that peace path by not trying to come to you to try to force you to do a thing for us that you don't want to do, and you have the right by law not to do it. Because we don't have the rights to force you to do for us. When that you say that you have freed us, we should go and do for ourselves. And why should we lay around your gate and beg you to give to us your wealth, your house, and you telling us that I'm not going to give it to you, and to beg you to let us enter your society as a member of your society, equal member? We have no rights to do that. That's causing violence.
What about the legal rights written in our Constitution and in all our laws that say that you do have this right, that this country is yours as much as anybody else's?
That's a saying. It can't be as much mine as it is yours. The white people, you was here when my father was brought here, and my father's was not brought here for the purpose of sharing equal with you or enjoying the rights that you enjoy. They was brought here for burden bearers and to aid you in building up your country as you have it today. They didn't offer us any part in the country.
You refuse to accept any of the progress that the Negro has made, in other words, Mr. Muhammad, in which he has lived in our society and is successful and is a leader in many cases.
I don't think he has lived in your society. And I don't think that he has made any progress towards himself. He has made progress towards you, but not towards himself.
Well, you think leaders like Dr. Ralph Bunche of the United Nations and some of the civil rights leaders I have mentioned and the Jackie Robinsons of the sports world have not all made progress within themselves as well as in our society?
But all was for you. He have made no progress for themselves. They has been trying to help you to progress, but not themselves and their people.
Well, these have all been great leaders, I would say, of the black race.
For who? There was not great leaders for us.
Because they differ with you on separation, is that what you mean?
They don't have to differ with me on separation, but their work is that they are doing and has been doing is not to try and lift up their own downtrodden people. It is to help you that already is up and exalted to keep your place in the world as an independent people. That's all the work that they has done is for you, not for themselves and their kind.
Well, let me take you to the sports field because it's so sharp and clear. It's not the most important field. But if Jackie Robinson not had broken the color barrier, hundreds of Negro boys who today make a very wealthy, very handsome income playing baseball would not have been able to improve themselves this way if not for the Jack Johnsons of an early era and Joe Louis, your own member, Cassius Clay, who prefers to be called Muhammad Ali, perhaps would not be the heavyweight champion of the world today. So there has been tremendous progress by these boys in this one area, which is sports. There are many other areas, but this is so sharp and refined, I thought I would point this up.
The sport world, we don't even have time for sport as far as that concerned, but
just as an example, I was just using it.
They has been permitted into your sport world, but actually that is not say really getting us any place still. If they go into your sport world, they going to lift you up. Their great feat and I would say accomplishing certain things in sport, you get the credit for it. They're not doing anything yet for themselves.
You mean all the money that Muhammad Ali, Cassius Clay, has made has not benefited him or his religion?
As far as the little money that he has made, that I say is still something to be reckoned with. He's not spending it in the way of yet himself and his kind. It's still coming back to you.
Do you believe, Mr. Muhammad, that Christianity is a means of enslaving the non-white people? Some Muslims have been quoted as saying.
According to the history, it stands true that if you had not approached a people that by nature is inclined to good religion, you could not make much headway in getting acquainted with them or getting among them. So by nature, the black man is just inclined to that. And so the best way to get acquainted with him is to bring to him something in religion, approach him as a good and a righteous person, teacher of that. And the man that is actually by nature that he will give ear. But the missionary that approached our people was not approaching them to make them good people. It was to get among them and take advantage of our people. So history shows.
In other words, you believe Christianity does help enslave the Negro.
It is.
Which is a charge made by some of the Muslims.
It keeps them enslaved, and it was more powerful than than physical slavery.
You know, Mr. Muhammad, every once in a while we have to pause in our conversation to bring a message from the sponsor. Let's do that right now, and we'll be right back.